हरि ओम सुप्रभातम नमो नमः
नमस्कार महोदय, सुप्रभात।
नमो नमः महोदय।
नमस्कारः महोदय, सुप्रभातम्।
नमस्कारः
महोदय।
नमस्कारः महोदय।
सुप्रभातं गुरुवर्य।
सुप्रभातम
नमस्कारः महोदय, सुप्रभातम्।
सुप्रभातम। आरम्भं कुर्मः। अद्य रघुराम महोदयः श्रावयति।
अस्तु महोदय, श्रूयते वा महोदय?
आम्।
ओम श्री परमात्मने नमः। नमः सर्वेभ्यः। सर्वप्रथमे भक्ति एतद् गभीर विषये व्याख्यातुं कथाञ्चित् अर्हः इति कदापि अहं न मन्ये। परन्तु यत्किमपि मम जीवने श्रवणात् पठनात् अवगन्तुं सामर्थ्यः अस्मि, निवेदितुं प्रयत्नं करोमि। मम एतत् कथनं तेलुगु भाषायां महाकवि धूर्जटि महोदयेन विरचित श्री कालहस्तीश्वर माहात्म्यं ग्रन्थ आधारितमस्ति। भक्तियोगे भगवदुदित निजभक्त्याः समान्तरम् एतद् ग्रन्थे द्रष्टुम् अद्य मम प्रयत्नं। वस्तुतः काव्यं यावत् पर्यन्तं संपूर्ण भक्तियुतम् अस्ति। प्रायशः यावत् कथनम् आङ्ग्लभाषायामेव कर्तुं शक्नोमि, क्षम्यतां प्रथमे। भक्त्याः अर्थं किम्? शिवानन्दलहरी स्तोत्रे आदिशङ्करः वदति, अंकोलं निजबीजसन्ततिरयस्कान्तोत्फलं सूचिका साध्वी नैज विभुं लताक्षितिरुहं सिन्धुत्सरिद्वल्लभम् प्राप्नोतीह यथा तथा पशुपते पादारविन्दद्वयम् चेतो वृत्तिरूपेण तिष्ठति सदा सा भक्तिरित्युच्यते। It starts with the Ankola tree. It has a property. In Hindi too, it is called Ankol. In Telugu, we call Vudiga Vriksha. The property of the tree is because of the stem that it has. The seeds will, once they fall onto the ground, they get attracted to the tree trunk. So here, the entire responsibility here is because of the property of stem. So the total responsibility is of the giver, not of the seeker. If you think the seeds are the seeker and the stem is the giver. So as I said, the 100% responsibility is on the stem, and the seeker, that is the bija, is of 0% responsibility. Next, if you go to the second example that he gives, the iron needle, when it goes to the lodestone, for example, in the campus, in Diksuchi, that's what we say, the Suchika will have some responsibility, whereas the majority of the responsibility will be with respect to the Ayaskanta, that is the magnet that it has. It means that the Suchika, the indicator, is supposed to be made of some magnetic material, otherwise this doesn't work. So as you know, that some kind of a iron or zinc or those kinds of things can only be used. As you can see here, the magnet has the majority of the responsibility, but the Suchika too has some responsibility. In the third example that he gives, Sadhvinai Jabibhum, a chaste woman, that is, if the wife, which is good-natured wife, she wants to reach the husband, and the husband too needs to be agreeable there in this particular example. So the responsibility happens to be 50-50. So that's what we say in the marriage too. The responsibility is 50-50 between wife and husband. So what it means in terms of bhakti is the seeker and the giver and the provider rather, both of them assume the equal responsibility here. As you go to the next example that he's going to give, Latakshitiruham. So Lata, that's the grapevine. When you have a tree or some kind of a unresponsive thing like a iron stem or some kind of that, or even a wall, for example, if the grapevine, the Lata, if it has to choose, it's going to choose only a living thing, that is a tree. if it has a choice. So the role has shifted, as you can observe here, it has shifted. So who is the one who is making the decision here? The seeker has started assuming the responsibility. Majority of the responsibility falls on the seeker here. And the lesser role is given to the giver. So if it has to be between the tree, which is a living thing, and a non-living thing. And the last example that he gives, that is the complete Sharanagati. I mean, complete responsibility is shifted to the seeker here. What he says is Sindhu Sarid Vallabham, where the ocean, which is the end point, has absolutely no responsibility there. The Nadi, that is the river, it assumes the complete responsibility. So as you can see there, the river completely takes the responsibility. It is the one which is supposed to choose the path, and even the obstacles that it's going to get, it has to overcome all these things. So like that, it reaches the Sindhu, that it reaches the ocean. So the same way that Adi Shankara, being such a great philosopher, he gives the 5 examples here, the way that he says, if the spirit of the mind is to reach the lotus feet of Pashupati, that is Shiva, and that's where it's going to stay. That is called bhakti. So there are 5 stages that he described here. So this is one of the definitions that we can give for what is meant by bhakti. In 11th shloka of Vibhuti Yoga, this is another example that we can find here. That's also from Adi Shankara. In 11th shloka of Vibhuti Yoga, 10th chapter, Bhagavan says, Tesham evanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayam yatma bhavastaha jnanadipena bhasvata. Shankara Bhashke, when he is giving the explanation for Jnanadipa, what is meant by Jnanadipa, the lamp of knowledge, in the Vivarana, in the explanation, what he gives is, in order for a deepa to light, what are the things that are necessary here? One is the pradipam, that is the lamp post, where everything needs to be there. And the second thing is the wick, the cotton wick, that's we call in Sanskrit as tula. And then where we keep that and all that stuff. So I'll come to the other aspect in a minute. So what is Deepa? The Samanantara explanation that he gives is, what is that we get? The Deepa means the light, that is Atma Vicharana. With what? With the wick, that is Tula, which is equal to the Buddhi or Prajna or Ekagrata. How do you get those things? With the Brahmacharya, the Kriyaha, or Samskaras and all that stuff. What is the Buddhi that we're going to get? That is compared with the cotton wick. And the actual Pradipa, the lamp post, what is that? That is the Nirantara Shakti, the Vairagyam. That is the basic fundamental thing. So you need to have the inclination towards Vairagya to get the desired thing, that is Atma Vicharana. And that needs to be separated from the Raga Dvesha and all that stuff. So we need to light this lamp. We need to place this lamp in an enclosure called Chitta. Chitta is our Chitta. So the air that it's going to destroy all this thing is the Raga Dvesha. So we need to keep some kind of a glass frame. If most of us should be knowing the earlier days how the Deepa is to be kept. You light that and then put a glass enclosure on top of that so that it won't be affected with the wind disturbances. So that is the Chitta. And the end, what is necessary here is the oil, the taila. That is bhakti. That's what Adi Shankara says. Bhakti is compared to the taila here. So imagine this kind of entire arrangements that you have the ekagrata, you have the buddhi, you have the inclination towards vairagya and all that stuff. And you light the cotton wick here. What is going to happen there? The light is not going to stay for at the max. Even if you protect everything from the raga dveshas, it's going to stay for a couple of minutes probably, and then it's going to extinguish. So that's the reason why you need to have the nirantara supply, that is the ever fulfilling desire of the bhakti. So a constant supply of bhakti is necessary. That's why he compares that to the taila, that's the oil. So that is one great definition that Adi Shankara gives about the bhakti. So that you can imagine that the constant amount of the oil that it stays inside the pradipa, that's only the end result, that is the Atma Vicharana, that is the Deepam will be there. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. Now, and what is this oil made of? Means what is this bhakti made of? Normally, we think bhakti is doing puja, which there's nothing wrong there. That is the first stage. We do puja, the normal flowers, gandha pushparchatai, akshatai, all those things. But we need to remember who made those things. Certainly not us. So the person who made the sankalpa has not made those things. Then how can we say that we claim that the entire bhakti is mine? So for that reason, he says, what are the flowers needed there? What are the 8 types of flowers Bhagavan Vishnu likes? So again, that is given by the Puranas, in the ancient sayings. It says, Ahimsa Prathamam Pushpam, Pushpam Indriya Nigraha, Sarvabhuta Daya Pushpam, Kshama Pushpam Viseshataha, Shanti Pushpam Tapah Pushpam, Dhyana Pushpam Tathaivacha, Satyam Ashtavitham Pushpam Vishnuh Pritikaram Bhavet. So most of you understand these 8 types of these things. Ahimsa, Indriya Nigraham, Sarvabhuta Daya, Kshama, Shanti, Dhyanam, Satyam, all these types of 8 pushpas, 8 flowers are the ones which Lord Vishnu likes, that's Bhagavan likes. Again, actually, if I have to take the reference from Srimad Ramayana, in Aranyakanda, when Sri Rama, actually, we will learn more about that thing as Mahodaya is going to teach us later. But in Aranyakanda, when Sri Rama visits Shabari, Maharshi Valmiki describes how she offers the prayers to Sri Rama. Maharshi says in one word, Pushpai Kavalayai Sartham Mlakvam Natiyantivai. The flowers that she used will never fade. In fact, he goes on to say that those flowers, she started using them some like thousands and thousands of years back when she got the teachings from her guru. What does those things mean? I mean, if we see in the Adi Daivika states also, we cannot fathom the fact that those flowers cannot, I mean, you cannot have some kind of a bhautika pushpas, the practical way, you cannot expect that the flowers will not fade. So what, in other words, Maharshi means is they are the Hridaya pushpas, which will never fade for that kind of a Sattvika bhakta. So somebody like Mata Shabari. So that's what he is explaining there. And in fact, Bhagavan in 12th chapter, he says in many of slokas describing about bhakti, he says Adveshta, Shanti, Kshama, all that stuff is a part of is the part of the bhakti pushpas. That's what he says. Samashatrocha mitrecha mitra, all that stuff that he described in Bhakti Yoga. So where are those flowers? They are not available outside, obviously. They are within us. Hence Adi Shankara says, he wonders actually in Shivananda Lakari with one of the shloka, which is really, in fact, captures the entire thing here. Gabhire kasare vishati vijani ghoravitine vishale shailecha bhramati kusumartham jadamatihi samartyaikam chetas sarasija mumanat bhavate sukhenavasthatam janaihan najanati kimaho. He wonders that way. A dim-witted one, somebody, a mudha, he actually goes to the dark, deep lakes to find some kind of a lotus there, Gabhire, Kasare, and into the dangerous forests he goes, or sometimes he goes to the broad, high mountains, go Vishale, Shailecha. So in order to get the flowers, I mean, definitely the Bhagavan did not ask those things. It's a wonder that these people do not know what Umanatha, the Lord of Lord, Bhagavan Shiva, what is he asking? He's asking only one single lotus, that is Chetas, that is fundamentally the mind. The Manasu is the Pushpa that Umanatha is expecting from you. So that is available within you. So that's exactly what Adi Shankara is telling here. As I told before, in Bhakti Yoga, Bhagavan describes these things. Atveshta sarvabhutanam satatam santushtaha dridhanishchayaha maitri karuna sukhadukhayoh samatva bhavam nirmamaha nirahankaraha kshami dakshaha udasinaha anapekshaha gatavyataha sthirabuddhi, all these things. I mean, I don't want to again Shetrumitrayoh, Manapamanayoh, Shitoshna Sukhayo, Dukhayoh, Samatva Bhavena Yaharahati, Shubha Shubha Parityagi, all that Sangavarjitaha, all those things as Bhakti Yoga Bhagavan described. Now let me come to the aspect why I have chosen this Grantha by Mahakavi Dhurjati. First of all, why this name Sri Kalahasti, which is fundamentally this, there might be very few towns that still has the Sanskrit name. And in fact, one is in Andhra. It is Sri Kalahasti, as the name says. It is Sri. There are three things there: Sri, Kala, and Hasti. Sri, that is a spider, and Kala, that is the Sarpa, and Hasti is elephant. Kala is snake. So the entire thing is about the kind of bhakti these three show is the Atma Nivedana. Like they completely surrender to Lord Shiva. First, I will describe the story, and I will probably try to explain whatever my understanding of this thing at a higher level as well. Shri, that is Luta, in Sanskrit as well. In Telugu too, that's called Luta. That's the spider. The story, first, as I said, I will first describe the well-known story. Most of you should be knowing this. I mean, might be knowing. There is a spider. There used to be a spider which lived in the inner sanctum of the Garbhagudi, Garbhalaya of Lord Shiva. What it used to do is it used to weave the elaborate temples with its web. So it used to decorate itself as if, and then it used to think as if it is providing a shelter to Lord Shiva, as if he doesn't have a shelter. But it is the eternal bhakti that this Luta has. It was in its own world with satisfaction of impeccable faith. So it used to draw some kind of like a temple shape, Shiva's shape, like a linga shape, and all that stuff. It used to do, and then it used to be in its own world. So one day, Lord Shiva tried to test what kind of a bhakti that it has. So what he's going to do is he's going to produce he causes some breeze. I will explain what these things they actually mean according to me. And then increases the fire inside. So the entire inner sanctum, that is the Garbhalaya, catches the fire. Without realizing the danger to its own self, the spider, imagine the small spider, it tries to gulp the fire, means it wants to eat that entire fire. So it tries to gulp that, one gulp. You can imagine spiders being such a small kitaka, it doesn't even care about its own welfare and then try to do that thing. And seeing this devotion, Shiva gives the moksha. So that means that it became one with the Atma. And the second and the third things that is about the Kala and Hasti here. There used to be a snake. I'm not going to elaborate more about this story. It is so well written, and then, but I want to spend more about the Bhakti part. So that's why I'm omitting many of the things here. The snake that worshipped the Lord Shiva, Shivalinga, with some fantastic ratnas, mutya, emeralds, and all that stuff, like, with the stones, where it is the king of the Nagaloka. So where those things are available. After the snake has worshipped, it so happens, a hasti, means an elephant, it purifies itself by taking a bath in the nearby river. It comes and worships Lord Shiva. While preparing it brings the water through its trunk. While doing that, it scatters the water as if it is washing the entire thing. While doing that, remember, it scatters the gems. It's the Hasti's intention. That will come later. That will come clearer and clearer later. So, and then it produces, decorates in its own way the entire altar with that is the inner sanctum as well as Lord Shiva with Bilva Patras, and that is the thing that the elephant feels that is the actual bhakti. And afterwards, the cobra returns, the snake returns, and then it gets angrier seeing that the offerings that he offered, are being disrespected because those things are thrown away, even though the Hasti doesn't want to do that thing. It's an art of, it's a part of its, the elephant's working, elephant's work. So it's the snake thinks that who pushed these useless leaves and all that stuff, whereas the gems are the ones which are the real ones that needs to be worshipped, Lord Shiva. So it takes out those leaves and then puts those gems. And the entire thing repeats every day. This charade repeats every day until one day the cobra becomes fed up with all these nonsense, according to it, and then decides, this we need to remember, decides to punish whoever is destroying the offerings. Whereas, as I said, the Hasti didn't have the intentions to destroy them, but it does destroy as a part of its offerings. Before I again jump to this story, I just want to tell one Telugu. I know many of you, in fact, majority of class doesn't understand Telugu, but I want to present one padya, which is equivalent to a shloka. Actually, this is written in Shardula as well. I just want to show the beauty of Dhurjiti and then what kind of a Advaita Bhava that he found by describing this. Actually, this is a padya which comes before the final war between the Hasti and Kala. I'll read this and then I'll try to explain a little bit in English as well. Udayagravamu panavattam abhishekota pravaham varthi dharadvantamu dhupadhumam jaladvipa prabharasi kaumudi Taranivaham Arpitasmambuluga Damodura Saukhadamai Sitakabhasti Sivalingam Bhakti Prachi edition. Majority of the words are in Sanskrit. If we pay attention, then most of us will be understanding this. As I said, he sees Dhurjiti after doing his Abhisheka, after doing his evening prayer. He comes out, evening bath, he comes out and then looks at the eastern side of Kalahasti town. And then he finds there is a hillock. I'll try to say if there is a time there. There is a hill. So he says that to be Udayagravamu Panavattam. It looks like Panavatta, that is the bottom portion of the Shivalinga. It is resembling a Panavattam. Abhishekotat Pravaham Varthi. The river that the river's name is Suvarnamukhi. This river that he is finding there is as if somebody did the Abhisheka to Shivalinga, and then the water is flowing. The flow of the water, he is comparing that to the river that is there. That is after the Abhisheka, the flow of water that he is comparing to the river there. Daradbhamtamu dhupadhumam. Imagine there is a Lord Shiva's Garbhalaya, and then somebody did the dhupa and all that stuff. So there will be some kind of a smoke. So he's comparing that to the moisture that is there in the atmosphere, like we call that tushara. And then he says, Jaladvipa Prabharasi Kaumudi, Taranivaham Arpita Sumam Mulugam. So imagine that somebody did the puja to Lord Shiva and then with the flowers and the stars that are slowly coming up, because it is the sunset time that he's telling there. Imagine those stars that are visible there on the sky. They resemble like the flowers with which somebody has prayed Lord Shiva. So that's how he sees the entire universe. And then he says that this entire eastern part, the universe that's there in front of me, when I look towards the east, the entire universe is looking like Shivalinga. So that way he is bringing the Advaita power. Why he does that, I wanted to explain this thing and I wanted to present this because of the beauty of the Padya, and then how he found the Advaita Bhava here. Yad Bhavam Tad Bhavati. So he is finding the entire universe to be of Shivalinga form. And of course, from the story point of view, it indicates what is about to happen. As I said, the cobra is decided that it's fed up with every damn thing, and then it wants to punish the person who is doing this thing. So it goes and then hides inside the leaves. It doesn't put put those ratnas and all that stuff. It goes to the leaves and then hides inside. So as the elephant, as usual, comes, and then it's so happy that his earlier leaves and those things were not disturbed. It feels happy, but the cobra has another plan. It goes through the trunk into the elephant, and then tries to go, and then goes and occupies its brain portion. And the elephant realizes that there is something wrong. There is a fight which the story describes in lots of shlokas. At the end, the elephant decides that enough is enough, and then it bangs its head, making sure that the snake is not going to come out. And it bangs its head against the parvata there, that's the hill there, and then gives up its life. While doing so, because it is banging its brain, its mind there, so the snake also gets smashed. So both of them, they get liberated. While seeing this, with this act, Lord Shiva completely liberates them and then provides them the moksha. In fact, even today, in the main sanctum of the Kalahasti temple, we can see the markings of the spider in the Mulavirat place. We can see the spider, 2 elephant tusks, and then 5-headed snake as well that are there in the bottom of the Shivalinga that is there. That is called the Paramatma Linga. That's how the temple that is referred as. Let me explain this thing. What these things mean. The spider's bhakti, as you can see, that it's completely of Sattva-guna. Elephant's bhakti is Rajasika. It did not disturb, as I said before. It did not disturb. It just wanted to do its own way of worship. And then it's the Kala, that is the snake's worship is Rajasika. The snake's worship is Tamasika. But these three, they exhibit 3 different gunas. But what Bhagavan sees is their gunatita bhakti and utmost devotion to serve him. And that's what he sees. That's the reason why he provides the moksha. In fact, this thing in one of the padya, in one of the shlokas, Dhurjati, he tells the Gudha way in a rahasya way. He says, Gunatitum Shivun. In Telugu, this is Dvitiya, Itin Nun is Dvitiya Vibhakti. So in Sanskrit, it becomes Gunatitam Shivam, Te Sarve Aprarthayan Ante Mokshamapi Praptavanti. The same is shown in the temple construct also in our ancient Sanatana temple, Sanatana way of worshipping. We do 3 pradakshinas before we enter the Garbhalaya. The first pradakshina, we make we make sure that I am giving up the tamoguna. With the second pradakshina, we say that I gave up rajoguna. In the third pradakshina, we say I am giving up even the sattva guna also. And that's the only time that I will be able to see the Moola Virat, who is the Gunatita Shakti, Gunatita Sthiti. Arthat, in order to find the Atma inside the human body, we need to strive to come out of these three gunas in order to find the Atma. That's fundamentally what our Sanatana temples they say. So it doesn't matter what kind of a form that you are in. What matters is the Nirantara Bhakti, Nirantara Gunatita Sthiti, that what actions that you show, it doesn't matter really. That's what again in Shivananda Lahari, again Adi Shankara says, Naratvam Devatvam Nagavana Mrigatvam Mashakata Pashutvam Kitatvam Bhavat Vihagadvadi Jananam Sadatvat Padabjasparana Paramananda Lahari Vihara Saktam Chet Hrudayam Kintena Vapusha. Human form, the form of gods, even Devatvam as well, the form of animals which wanders in the forests and things, form of mosquito, Kitatvam as well, form of a domestic animal, form of worm, flying birds, whatever be the thing, I really don't care. As long as I think and my Nirantara Bhakti is thinking about the feet of Mahadeva, that is Lord Shiva. Even Dhurjiti mentions the same in another of his works, which is called Sri Kalahastishwara Shatakam, not this Grantha which I am speaking. In Telugu again, he says, Ye Vedambu Patinchaluta Bhujangam Be Shastramul Juche, Tani Vidyabhyasanamul Nonarche Kari, Chenche Mantramu Hinche, Bodhavir Bhava Nidanamul Sadulaya, Kavu Ni Pada Samseva Sakti Kaka Jantatakim Sri Kalahastishwara. The rough translation is something like this. What kind of Veda, Shastras, education do this spider, snake, and elephant possess? What do those things have? What mantra does the tribesman Karnapa chant? The way to salvation is not the senseless acquisition of knowledge, but an inclination to seek refuge in your feet, O Lord Shiva. That's what he says. Finally, I want to tell about this particular aspect, what it means in the Adhyatmika. So if we go one step further and then try to see what this entire thing means in the Adhyatmika concept. In the case of Luta, the self, that is what is trying to do there. The self is trying to overcome the ego. Ego is the fire that is represented by the fire, which is aided by the wind, that is the Ragadvesha. The Atma, Luta has realized the self, then it's trying to overcome that. That's what it's shown in the Adhyatmika way. Again, about the Kala, that is the cobra, the snake, most of us know that in our scriptures, it is the power of the self, that is Kundalini Shakti, the latent electricity of consciousness. It is obviously hidden in the dark recesses of the unconscious, like a snake. Normally the snakes, they stay under the ground. So that is in the dark. The Kundalini Shakti is sleeping below us, that is in the earth's surface. Hasti, that is the heaviest of the animals. The way that he is representing with the Hasti is, that is, if you see this way, that in order for us to go above the Gunatita Sthiti, that is to come out of the earth's surface, we need to deviate away from the earth, that is from the Ragadveshas and all the earthly things, from the Laukika factors. So Hasti is the heaviest of the animals, so that is so difficult thing. So in order for us to come out of those things, the Kundalini Shakti to become Jagarana, to become conscious, the consciousness which is sleeping, that is Kundalini Shakti in the self, if we have to come out of the Laukika factors, it must destroy the gross attraction that one has towards the earthly senses, which is represented by the elephant here. So that's the reason the destruction needs to happen there. So that's what the entire story is shown for this fantastic Adhyatmika concept. I know that I'm going a little bit slow, but I really want to spend more time, about like 15 minutes or so, on the real hero of the story that I have chosen, that is Karnapa. As I said, I don't want to spend too much time on the actual story here, but the inner thing that I understood, that's what I want to say. The real hero is, his name is Tinna. In Telugu, it is Tinnadu, that is Prathama Vibhakti. Du is Prathama Vibhakti. So in Sanskrit, perhaps we can say Tinnaha. He is born as to the tribesman tribe king. So he is the prince, actually. So it means that he has the entire wealth of the tribe of the one who are tribe, who are like Bhillas, that's what we say, of the Shailakas. Actually, Dhurjiti speaks this thing in about this entire chapter is about the two bhaktas. He says in the Telugu, I mean, it's a Sanskrit word as well. He says about two bhaktas here, Atavika, Gotradeva. So this story, the main story is about Karnapa, that is the Atavika. And then Gotradeva, he brings another Sadbrahmana into the story as well. And at the end, Shiva provides the moksha to both of them. Anyway, it so happens that with his friends during his teen time, Tinna goes on a hunting expedition. So all the teenagers go in while hunting for a wild boar, that's a wild pig. And it so happens that Tinna falls asleep. He misses from his entire friends group. So he goes away. He misses the rest of the group, and he goes and he falls asleep under a tree. There he gets a dream. In the dream, some wise man, he comes and then says, "I am residing very close to here. Why don't you go and then see me?" So as if it is from his Purva Janmas, he wakes up from the dream, and then he goes in search of that Shivalinga, because that's what he gets. And he finds the Shivalinga, which is entirely alone there. And the first impression that he gets is as if a mother finds, as I said, he is just a teenager. But imagine a mother finding a long lost kid. That's how he feels. And he says, it's written in, that is the beauty of Dhurjiti. He writes in a language which perhaps is spoken by the tribesmen. He says that, how are you living here? This entire thing is interested with tigers and lions and the other wild animals. How are you living here alone? So he gets this matratva bhava towards the Shiva, as if being the Mahadeva, he needs some kind of a protection. But that is how the bhakta is feeling here. Afterwards, the rest of the group comes, and then he sits in front of Shiva, and then he goes into the trance there. The rest of the group comes and then finds Tinna. They try to persuade him to come back to their village, but he refuses to do that thing. He says that my Swami is here alone. I need to protect him from these wild animals or so. So he reluctantly, all of them, they return. And after they leave, Tinna realizes that, oh my God, my Swami is alone for a long, long time. He must have been hungry here. So he goes and again towards the hunt. This time he gets that wild boar. So he kills that pig, brings the meat, cuts it, and then he fries it. He does all that stuff, and then he brings that, and then he tries to feed Shiva. So there he persuades Shiva, like, no, why you are not eating and all that stuff. So he starts crying that you must eat this entire thing. That's what I want you to do, this thing. So Shiva comes and then he starts eating because he couldn't see this bhakta crying so badly. So meanwhile, this happens like, a few times, and then Tinna is always near that Shivalinga. Only when he goes out for a hunting, that's when he misses that. So meanwhile, a Sadbrahmana named Shivagochara, he knows about this Shivalinga is being in the interior of these forests. So in one of his trips, he comes and then sees this entire thing here. So because he being a Sadbrahmana, he will do the puja in the way that he knows, the way that he understood everything with the namaka, chamaka, and all that stuff. In order to do that, he brings this water, but he becomes so angry to see the meat around the entire Shivalinga, where he laments everything, and then he starts blaming Shiva. How can you take all these things? I cannot touch the meat because that's my kulachara for perhaps, and I cannot use even a broomstick or something. I dare not touch. I cannot do that kind of sweeping as well to my Lord. So he cries in that way. So again, being a Bhaktavatsala, Shiva again appears to him and then says, he persuades him, see, I will show you why I had to accept this meat that's been offered by somebody. You stay behind me and then watch the entire thing that's happening. And he persuades him, don't ever react to everything. So Tinna again, this time he comes here with the half-cooked meat, with cooked meat and all that stuff. So this is where Adi Shankara, in one of the fantastic rendering in Shivananda Lahari, he goes to the epitome of bhakti he describes in this, at least for me, I feel so extempore when I read this padya, this shloka. Margavartita paduka pashupate rangasya kurchayate gandu shambu nishechanam puraripor divyabhishekayate kinchit bhakshita mamsa sesha kabalam navyopaharayate bhakti kim na karotyaho vanacharo bhaktavatam sayate. So it is so extempore in the way that Adi Shankara described here. As Tinna is coming here, he sees all these nirmalya and all that stuff. He uses his own feet actually with the shoes that he has. He cleans all that stuff because both his hands are carrying that meat. And then Pashupate, the Lord of the Lord, Pashupati, he thinks that somebody has used the smoothest of the smooths, kurcha. That's how he feels that thing. And second thing, Gandu Shambu Nishechanam Puriripur Divyabhishekayate. As I said, both his hands are occupied with by carrying this meat, and because he thinks that Shiva needs some kind of a bathing because he does the bathing, so he needs to do the abhisheka. So he brings the water in his mouthful of water, so that is gandusham. So and then Lord Shiva thinks that is divyabhishekam. And kinchit bhakshita mamsa sesha kabalam navyopaharayate. So he actually tastes this wild boar's meat, this smoken meat, and then that's what he offers Lord Shiva. And Shiva thinks that it is navyopahara, means it's the greatest of the greatest upachara, that is the naivedyam, that's what he thinks. And then Adi Shankara wonders, bhakti kim na karotyaho vanacharo bhaktavatam sayate. Wow, what kind of a bhakti this vanachara has displayed. That's what Adi Shankara says. Now, again, back to the story. Seeing all these things happening in front of him, Shivagochara, he is in a dilemma now, whether to react or not, but he sits seeing Shiva's persuasion. The reason why Lord Shiva says to Shivagochara, okay, sit now, I will show you what is called by the Nija Bhakti. So again, Tinna offers the meat. This time, Shiva doesn't eat. And now again, he goes on persuasion, but he doesn't eat. It so happens that Tinna finds that from one of the eyes of Lord Shiva, there is blood that comes. There is some water that is coming out. So he thinks, so he does all kinds of Prakriti Vaidya, but nothing happens. And in fact, it goes to the severe condition that the water turns to blood. And Tinna thinks that, okay, I'm not going again too much there. Tinna thinks that, okay, the only thing that I know is an eye for eye. So he plucks his eye and then puts the eye there so that fits to him properly. Now, after this eye is done, the second eye starts doing exactly the same thing. And without any hesitation, Tinna says that, okay, damn with my second eye, I'm going to pluck this thing. So what is that I'm supposed to do? Oh, okay, if I pluck my second eye, I cannot see where to locate this. So he keeps his feet as a mark there. So, okay, this is where I need to bring. And then he's about to pluck that. That's when he thinks, oh my God, I have only 2 eyes now, but my Swami has 3 eyes. What happens if the third one starts bleeding now? I cannot even do something. That's when he starts crying, and he's about to pluck second eye. That's when Shiva cannot see all these things, and then he shows his Nijarupa, and then he stops his bhakta with his Nijarupa. What is Tinna's state now? He is as it is said in the Bhakti Yoga, Mayeva mana tatsva, Mayi buddhim niveshaya. His mana, buddhi, and everything is in Bhagavan. So buddhi, ahankara, and in fact, Tinna's state is even above all that stuff. Manasu, buddhi, and ahankara, and then he is at a point of no return. That's when he tries to pluck. So Lord Shiva cannot see this kind of a thing, this epitome of bhakti, and he comes in his Nijarupa and then says, "Oh, from now onwards you will be above me." So if you go to Kalahasti, the Tinna's mandira, that is Tinna's Shivalinga, is on top of the hill, whereas the Lord Shiva's mandir is below, which doesn't happen. It is like bhakta is above the Bhagavan. So that is a representation that Bhagavan Shiva is Bhakta Vatsala. Again, if we can see the parallel here in the 9th chapter, Bhagavan says, Apichet suduracharo bhajate mama nanyabhak sadhureva samantavyaha samyak vyavasito hisaha. What he says in Navamodhyaya is that the durachara, even if it is a durachara, if for a normal one, for somebody like us, feeding mamsa, feeding meat to Lord Shiva it's all durachara. You cannot expect the greatest of the greatest, the Mahadeva. How can you clean with your own shoes? How can you do all these jugupsakara things? But Bhagavan doesn't see all those things. What he sees is gunatita nija bhakti. That's what in 9th chapter Bhagavan says. Now, as I said, coming back to the story, Shiva gives his true form to both Shivagochara, and then says, because Shivagochara too, he felt as a Brahmin, he felt that these things, he wanted to worship Shiva with the knowledge that he already has. Whereas Tinna wanted to worship him in the way that he knows, means he doesn't know anything. Still he wants, but he is in a gunatita state. So that's what, again, Bhagavan in 7th chapter, if we go back to Bhagavad Gita, yo yam tanum bhaktaha shraddhayarchitam ichchati tasya tasyachalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. So that's what Bhagavan says. Whichever the way that bhaktas, each bhakta will worship me in a different way. For each of them, I'm gonna give the moksha in the way that Shraddha is that what I will see. The Kriya will be different. There will be differences in the way that each one prays. A Sad-Brahmana will obviously pray in a different way, Namaka, Chamaka, with the Veda Yukta and all that stuff. A nomad, where somebody who knows nothing, will pray in a different way. So as you refer back, it's not just the humans alone, it's even the Kitakas and all that stuff also will be worshipping Lord Shiva in a different way. So that is the thing, why Lord Shiva gave the moksha to both Shivagochara and Tinna as well. So we need to appreciate, there will be differences in the approaches, but the bhakti, the practices are the least of importance, but only the bhakti is of the greatest of importance. So if we go back to Sri Rama's, the Valmiki Ramayana again, if we see you cannot expect that the one of the greatest descriptions of Lord Rama about his dharmanushtana, Ramo vigrahavan dharmaha sadhu satya parakramaha, this is not being uttered by Vasishta Maharshi or Vishwamitra Maharshi or even Janaka or any of those people, but by a Rakshasa, Maricha in Aranyakanda. He describes what is, how Rama is the epitome of dharma. So we need to remember that the shape, the worship, the kind of worship and all those things, they don't matter at all. So that's what the story is described in case of Kannappa. Kannappa means he's the one who gave the eyes to the Lord. I will now jump to a little bit higher level, what it means, because bhakti in fact, any of the stuff that the Sanatana way that we say is there are three states there: Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, and Adhyatika. I will try to spend a little bit of time, like a couple of minutes or so, on Adi Daivika. What is Kannappa here? The legend says that he is nobody other than Arjuna. In the Grantha, in Dhurjati, he says that the one who heard Gita Sara, that's what he says. If we see in the Adidaivika stage, why Lord Shiva has to give the salvation to the greatest of the great warriors, Arjuna, in this way, in the way of a Atavika. So if we go back to Mahabharata war, it seems, at the end of, after the Mahabharata war, during the Krishna Niryana time, Arjuna gets defeated. He goes to protect Sri Krishna's wives, but he gets defeated easily by a bunch of boyas. Boya means the bunch of tribesmen. And that anger still remains with him because he is the Jagat Vijeta. He never got defeated. After all, he gets defeated with even his Gandiva and all that stuff doesn't protect him. And he puts the blame that, okay, I could not do this thing because Krishna is not here and all that stuff. But that anger still remains with him. As again in Bhagavad Gita, as it said, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. So he has this thought of a tribesman in his mind before he gives up his life. So in the next Janma, he takes the form of this Boya. Boya means the tribesman. Again, another point here is that despite being the listener, from Sakshat Bhagavan, the entire Bhagavad Gita, he is the one. He's the one who listened to the entire Bhagavad Gita. So at this stage, when he is lamenting to the fact that he got defeated by the Boyas, he thinks, I am the one who defeated Bhishma, Drona, and I am the chief architect of Mahabharata war. And how come I got defeated with the ordinary people, ordinary Boyas like this? And actually, during the war, Bhagavan tests him so many times by praising him with his greatest of the victories each time. He says, oh, you are great, you are great. But he always downplays, says that, Bhagavan, it's all because of you. It's not because of me. So, but after the defeat, means during the Krishna Niryana time, he is exposing his true sense that he did not understand fully. So he did not understand the defeat and the victory are not within him. It's the Bhagavan. That's what he forgets. Again, why this bore plays the entire thing here? Because you go back to Kiratarjuniya, where Arjuna gets into the fight with the Lord Shiva himself. That's when he should have realized. It so happens that in one of the he uses all the astras against Shiva, and then everything goes and then merges with Shiva. He should have realized that the person who is fighting with him for no reason must be some kind of a deva, not an ordinary person. At the time, Arjuna doesn't give up his Kshatriya dharma, but that's a different point. He doesn't realize that it is somebody who must be must be a god. Whereas if we draw in my intermediate time, that's the +2 time, one of the Sanskrit story that we had is Dilipasya Goseva, where King Dilipa, he also finds this kind of a situation where he, in order to protect a cow, he gets into a fight with a simha, a lion. And the lion is, again, does exactly the same thing. All the astras that Dilipa uses, everything gets merged and then it doesn't die at all. That's when the great Emperor Dilipa realizes the other person who is fighting with me must be somebody that he's no ordinary person. Then he says, I'm sorry, I am doing the namaskara with my left hand because my right hand has the arrow here. So had Arjuna realized this thing, maybe he would have realized that there is some Shakti, there is a Bhagavan above him. So this is the, so he needs to come back to the stage of a boya. That's when Bhagavan actually is giving the salvation. That's the moksha to him. And I know that I'm going a little bit slow, but I just want to mention one thing without finishing. This is the third stage in the Adhyatmika way. What does this mean? It's the story is so beautiful in the description, all that stuff. Kannappa is a great bhakta and all that stuff. But what does it mean by plucking the eyes, giving up the eyes? It's not in the, you cannot take any of the Puranas and all that stuff in the strict sense. What he says here is, as he spoke about the third eye, that's when Kannappa speaks about the third eye. What he means is the Antachakshu, the Jnana Chakshu needs to open. The Jnana Chakshu can open only when both the eyes are closed. That's what it means. Then only I can think about the inner peace. That's what Bhagavan also says before giving the Vishwarupa Sandarshana. Natumam Shakshase Drashtum Anenaiva Swachakshusha Divyam Dadami Te Chakshuhu Paschame Yogam Aishwaram Iti. That's what Bhagavan says in 11th chapter Vishwarupa Sandarshana Yoga. So what it means is, only when you sit in the yoga, only if you sit in the yoga, you need to close your eyes and think about the entire thing and then open my Jnana Chakshu. That's what he means by giving up those two eyes. In the Upanishad Vakya, it is Avrutta Chakshuhu, Amrutatvam Ichchan Kashchit Thiraha Pratyagatmanam Ikshaha. Avrutta Chakshuhu means, Avrutta means turning back, the diametrically opposite direction. That's where my chakshu needs to point towards. It's my eyes are not looking outwards; they are looking inwards. So that is what the entire story is about. It's possible for an ordinary human being. This avarta chakshu thing. It's we can also turn towards inside. Only thing, as Bhagavan says, that you need to realize that you have an anta chakshu, to realize the Atma Vastu inside, that is Lord Shiva inside, that who is sitting inside you. You need to realize that you can only see that thing only when you turn your eye, that is Jnana Chakshu inside. That's what, and when you turn inside, you will see the Atma, which is nothing left there. I mean, once you find the Atma, there is nothing left there. Again, going back to Ramayana, when Swami Anjaneya finds Mata Sita, it is Mata Sita is the Atma. When he found Mata Sita, the result is Sri Rama's Alinganam. So that's the only thing left. So it is the Advaita. So everything merges into one. So Rama, Swami, Anjaneya has become Swami Anjaneya. So he became Swami then. So once you find Atma, there is nothing left there. Everything is one Advaita, complete Atma, Paramatma, everything is the same. So that's exactly what I wanted to say. Now it is 7:30. It must be 8 for all of you. So I will, Mahodaya, like 5 minutes, can I speak about the Kshetra Mahima also?
Avashyam.
Astu Mahodaya, Astu. This is what I wanted to say about this entire, about what is bhakti, what is the purpose of bhakti. I will spend I promise, I will not take more than 5 minutes to speak about the kshetra, that is Kalahasti kshetra. It is known as Dakshina Kailasa. Actually Kasi of the south. That's what it is said. Dakshina Kasi. That's what it is said. So why Dakshina Kasi? Varanasi is, I mean, I am nobody to speak about such a great place like Varanasi, but in Adhyatmika way, whatever that I know, I'm going to tell. Normally, in the direction wise, in the spiritual sense, what we need to realize is, as we are vertebrates, we grow upwards. So jnana or moksha and all that stuff is normally represented by the north direction, and south direction is represented with the samsara, mrityu, and all that stuff, and east towards wisdom, and east towards the wisdom, and west towards the vairagya. Because east is where the sun rises, so it is about the wisdoms, because sun is considered the wise man, and the west is because the sun is setting, so that is about the vairagya. You're supposed to get that thing. So having said this thing, Ganga, so if you see the water flows towards the south, so normally it is going to flow towards the south. So it means every human being is traveling towards the samsara. So which is, nobody needs to teach that thing. We are all experts in that. Without anybody teaching us, we get these attachments towards the samsara. So that's what is the samsara. That's what is everybody does, traveling towards the south. Even in English, funnily, going south, heading south in US means going downhill. So, but north is about that's where the Sahasrara chakra is. So that's actually is represented by towards the moksha, that I am traveling towards the moksha. So in Varanasi, if we see the Ganga river, that's the place where it travels towards the north. So in a symbolic way, that's why Varanasi becomes, among many of the other things, Varanasi in Kashi in the spiritual sense, it means that's where, okay, you have traveled all these years towards your samsara. Now think about, because that is the kshetra, Varanasi kshetra, it travels towards the north. The water, the Ganga is traveling, that Pavitra Nadi is traveling towards the north. Means you are thinking about the moksha. That's why Kashi Shyamtu Maranam Moksham, that's what they say. So anyway, why coming back to Kalahasti, the Suvarnamukhi Nadi, where the Kalahasti Kshetra is, that's where it's actually the Nadi travels north here. So that's one of the parallels here. So that is one reason why that is called Dakshinakasi. And the second thing is, the other thing is, there are four main deities here in Kalahasti. One is Dakshinamurti. Dakshinamurti is when Lord Shiva is in the form of education, not in the form of wisdom. What it means is Dakshinamurti, he sits towards in the facing south, because Shiva doesn't need, he is the Mahadeva. What does he need? He doesn't need anything. He can sit, he can face Mrityu, because he's above the Mrityu and all that stuff. Normally, we are so afraid to think about Mrityu and all that stuff. So he makes the disciple, like us, the bhaktas, to see towards the north. Means he is making us see the moksha. So Dakshinamurti here in the temple obviously faces south, and Jnana Prasunamba, the Amba, the Mata, she faces the east. Jnana Prasunamba, as the name itself, it says that she is the one who presents, he is the giver, the mother of all the knowledge. She is the one who is giving the knowledge. She is facing east. So obviously you are going to get the knowledge once you see towards the east. And the west, who is facing the west? So it so happens that in Shiva Rathana, the Panavatta always faces the north. If you see that thing, you will see that the Kalahasti Mula Virat, he is facing the west. What does this mean? So he means that it is the symbolism of the liberation. Like what he says here is, okay, the entire life you have thought about your own comforts, your own material comforts, laukika things. Now, at least now think about your life is going towards the sunset. It is about to end in, if not now, maybe in 50 years, maybe in 100 years, whatever be the time. You think about the moksha. That's the reason why he is pointing towards the west. And then who faces the north here? So who is the one who is going to direct us? So we need a leader who travels towards the moksha, right? So the one who travels there is the son of Amba and Lord Shiva, Ganapati. He is in Patala. He is the one who who is going to guide us towards the moksha. So these things are done in a liberation, in a symbolic fashion in the kshetra. So I just wanted to bring that thing. And one last thing, being a physicist, I just want to say this thing. In 7th chapter, Bhagavan says about his bhautika forms, Bhumirapo nalo vayuhu kammano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yemme dina prakritirashthada. So what it means is Bhagavan in the bhautika way also, in physical form also, if you want to see me, you can see me in 8 different ways. That's what he says. We in fact don't need to go to any kshetra and all that stuff. Wherever we are sitting, we can see our entire world is made of all these 8 things, 5 basic factors here: bhumi, apaha, analaha, vayuhu, kam, that is ether and all that stuff. Whereas here in Kalahasti, he is present in the vayu form. So what it does is, what it means here is, even though the air is in front of us, the earth manifests itself because of its physical properties. Some places there is Agni, like for example in Arunachala, it is Agni Lingam. That's what we say, because the hill there is made of Agni because of the Agni, because it's always hot there in some place. And so it so happens that in Kanchi it is earth, in Jambukeshwar it is water, in Chidambaram it is ether. There's nothing there. The similar way in Kalahasti it is the Vayulinga. So if you close the entire, in fact there have been so many scientific studies that they did there. So they completely close the enclosure, the Garbhalaya, but always the lamp there will always flutter. So as if it's showing that it is under the constant supply of some Vayu there. So it is Earth's different properties, that it is the properties of the Earth that's being manifested. So I think I will stop here. Thank you very much, Mahodaya. I am, as I said, I am nobody to speak about such a deeper meaning bhakti. Bhakti is such a gahan subject. I'm just an ordinary person. Whatever that I heard, whatever that I read from different aspects and the different resources that I was able to present due to the blessings of Lord Shiva. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Om Tat Sat.
Bahu Uttamam, Raghunath Mahodaya, Bahu Uttamam. Too good.
Very informative. Very, very informative.
Thank you. Dhanyavada Bhagini. Thank you, Swamiji.
शब्दः नास्ति, भवन्तः विचारः, भवन्तः चिन्तनं, भवन्तः ज्ञानं बहु उत्तमं।
कृतोस्मि महोदय।
भिन्न भिन्न उद्धरणेन गीतायां श्रीमद् रामायणे यत् यत् उदाहरणम् अस्ति तत् उक्त्वा भवान् सर्वं भक्त्याः प्रतिपादनं कृतवान्। उत्तमम्।
धन्योस्मि महोदय। धन्यवादः।
Very informative, Mahodaya. It was very good.
Very
धन्यवादः
nice,
भगिनी।
Mahodaya. Very nice.
धन्यवादः भगिनी।
The way-
Raghuram Mahodaya, Namaskarah. I personally
Namaskar,
want to
Bhagini.
thank you so much. Dhanyavadaha. It is in fact the continuation of Periya Puranam. I mean, you know that. I mean, it's not that about Periya Puranam. I really wanted to speak about Kannappa Nayanmar. But I'm so thankful, grateful to you that you took. This was a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect that you'll be talking. I mean, I was just thinking, probably it is Bhagwan's kripa. I mean, it so happened we spoke about Chidambaram and today about Kalahasti. Beautiful. I mean, this was a pleasant surprise for me, and
Thank you.
I was overjoyed, like to hear about. Thank you so much. It was like what and all I wanted to say. Uh, so I think this also proves that it's almost at the same mind which is like working, the universal mind.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Dhanyavadaha.
Mahodaya and everyone, I just need to tell this thing. When we were small, when we were kids, Satya will also remember this thing. Our father, our Pitrudeva, he used to talk about Kannappa and Nandanar. And that somehow when we were small, it fell in our minds. And now as I speak about this thing, I am trying to recollect my conversations with my late dad. So wherever he is, he's probably must be happy that I was able to present whatever that he has taught me. Sarvam, because of his krupa, that I was able to do this thing, whatever that I could. Thank you.
Excellent, actually. Very nice,
Raghunath
Raghunath.
Mahodaya,
बहु सम्यक्
too-
अस्ति महोदय, बहु सम्यक्
too
अस्ति.
deep the meaning of bhakti. Too deep, too good.
धन्यवाद भगिनी,
बिल्कुल
धन्यवाद.
बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं. जब तक रस ना आए, इतना रस आया इसमें. भगवान
धन्यवाद महोदय.
भगवान के स्वरूप, गुण, स्वभाव, कीर्तन में जब रस आने लगता है ना, उसमें अनुराग हो जाता है, तब समझना चाहिए कि हमारा जो निश्चय है वह दृढ़ हो गया है, दृढ़ निश्चयी हो गए हैं हम लोग. ये पहले तो जो व्यास मुनि और गर्ग मुनि है, इन लोगों ने अपनी संहिताओं में जो कहा कि पूजा आदि में जो अनुराग का होना है, कथा में अनुराग का होना है, ये सब दृढ़ निश्चय का लक्षण है. वस्तुतः ऐसा देखने में आ रहा है कि आप लोगों का जो ज्ञान है, जो विचार है, जो चिंतन है, वह वास्तव में बहुत उच्च कोटि का है. और क्या कहें,
महोदय,
तो
आपका अनुमति हो तो मैं एक बात करना चाहता हूँ.
हाँ हाँ जी 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 जी.
क्या होता है कि कन्नप्पा की स्टोरी, जैसा रघुराम महोदय ने बोला है, यहाँ पर एक भावना प्रदर्शित होता है. एक समय के बाद भक्त को भगवान से इतना प्रेम हो जाता है, वो भगवान का निज सामर्थ्य थोड़ा सा भूल जाता है. वो इतना अपनापन हो जाता है भगवान की, जैसा रघु ने बोल रहा है, भगवान को क्या आहार दे रहा है, क्या नहीं दे रहा है, भगवान सच्चा भक्ति देखता है. लेकिन भक्त को ये थोड़ा इतना प्रेमावेश हो जाता है. अगर फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर अभिषेक चल रहा है तो निज भक्त ने ये कहा, किसी ने कहा है, मैंने सुना है, निज भक्त ने अगर दूध का अभिषेक करना है तो फिर दूध अगर फ्रिज से निकाल रहा है तो फिर दूध बहुत ठंडा है तो फिर वो थोड़ा गर्म करके अभिषेक करता है, क्योंकि वो सोचता है मैं कोई भी इतना ठंडा दूध कैसा पी सकता है, तो फिर मुझे थोड़ा गर्म करने दो. तो फिर वो, लेकिन भगवान को वो दूध का टेम्परेचर की कोई असर नहीं पड़ता है. लेकिन भक्त
जी जी जी.
भक्त इतना अपनापन हो जाता है. और एक दृष्टांत है। जब कृष्ण जी पांडव की पक्ष में हस्तिनापुर जाके जो नेगोशिएशन युद्ध करने के लिए जा रहा है, तो फिर धर्मराज उससे पूछता है आपको ही जाना है क्या? तो फिर कृष्ण ने बोलता है हाँ मैं जाऊंगा, आपकी जो भी आपका संदेश है मुझे ही जाके मुझे युद्ध का जो भी मैं कर सकता हूँ उसका रोकना मेरा फर्ज बनता है, मैं ही जाऊंगा। लेकिन धर्मराज ने बोलता है आप जाना मुझे पसंद नहीं है। तो फिर कृष्ण पूछता है क्यों? क्योंकि आप अकेले इतना दुष्ट जनों के बीच में जाना आपका क्या आप आपदा मीनिंग लाइक आपका क्या डेंजर हो सकता है, इसके बारे में मुझे चिंता है। आपको जाना कोई और को भेजेंगे, आप स्वयं जाने के लिए मुझे इतना इच्छा नहीं है। वो बिल्कुल भगवान की कोई वहां पर अवमान होगा ये समझ के वो जाने के लिए रोकने के लिए चाह रहा है। लेकिन धर्मराज उस समय में धर्मराज को पता है वो पांडव सब भगवान का रूप मान के ही कृष्ण का पूजा किया है। लेकिन उस समय पे जैसा हमारा बच्चा कोई दूसरा गांव जा रहा है तो फिर हम उसका क्षेम के बारे में सोचते हैं ना, वैसा बन जाता है भक्त। तो फिर वो कृष्ण को रोकने के लिए प्रयत्न करता है, लेकिन कृष्ण हंसकर वो अलग सा बात है जो कुछ भी हुआ है। लेकिन वहां पर भक्त का जो भावना होता है ना, जैसे ये स्टोरी में कन्नप्पा ने भगवान को खाना देने के लिए वो स्वयं अपना जो जैसा उसने सोचा है समुचित है वो सब करने के लिए सोचता है। लेकिन भगवान को भक्त का भक्ति देखकर बहुत संतुष्ट होता है। जस्ट आई वांटेड टू मेंशन दिस महोदय। पता नहीं संदर्भोचित है या नहीं, लेकिन मुझे जो लगा है वो मुझे बोलने के लिए सोचा है मैंने।
हाँ सत्य महोदय, बहुत बहुत उत्तम, बहुत उत्तम। सत्यम
भक्त जो है वो भाव विभोर हो जाते हैं, ये कहना था। भक्ति में भक्त की जो भाव विभोरता है, इसके संबंध में भी एक छोटी सी कथा है महाभारत के अंतर्गत ही, कि अर्जुन के मन में एक बार ऐसे अभिमान आ गया कि मैं श्री कृष्ण का मैं ही एकमात्र उत्तम भक्त हूं, ऐसा करके। और भगवान तो गर्व का हरण करने वाले है ही हैं, भक्त के गर्व का ही भगवान भोजन करते हैं। इसलिए अर्जुन को साथ लेकर के वो भ्रमण करने के लिए निकल गए। तो यमुना के किनारे पहुंचे तो एक टूटी फूटी झोपड़ी उनको दिखलाई पड़ी। उसके द्वार के सामने में एक तपस्विनी, एक वृद्धा बैठी हुई थी। तो अर्जुन ने पूछा कि भाई ये कौन है, ये ऐसे एकांत में झोपड़ी बना करके क्यों बैठी हुई है? भगवान ने कहा तुमको जिज्ञासा है भैया तो तुम जाओ, तुम जा करके पूछ के आओ। और अपना, लेकिन हाँ एक काम करना अवश्य, अपना परिचय अपना पहचान मत बताना, और मैं भी आया हूं ये तो बिल्कुल मत बताना। तो अर्जुन ने जाकर के फिर वहां वृद्धा को प्रणाम किया और बोला कि माता आप तो तपस्विनी है, आपने ये तलवार क्यों रखी हुई है? तलवार देखा उसने तो पूछा कि तलवार क्यों रखी है? तो वृद्धा ने कहा कि दुष्टा द्रौपदी और स्वार्थी अर्जुन को मारने के लिए मैंने तलवार रखी है। और अर्जुन गया था पूछने के लिए। तो अर्जुन वहां पर घबरा गया, पूछा कि इन दोनों ने ऐसा क्या अपराध कर दिया? ये लोग तो उत्कृष्ट भक्त है ना, उनका दोष क्या है? आपका रोष किस लिए है? तो वृद्धा ने कहा कि क्या कम अपराध किया इन दोनों ने? द्रौपदी को जब दुशासन कौरव सभा में लेकर के जा रहा था, उसकी साड़ी खींचने लगा था, तो उसने पुकार पुकार करके भगवान श्याम सुंदर को द्वारका से भोजन की परोसी हुई थाली छुड़वा करके विवश कर दिया आने के लिए। ये भी नहीं सोचा कि मैं अपवित्र दशा में हूं, रजस्वला हूं। मधुसूदन को उसका वस्त्र बनना पड़ा। अरे वो नग्न हो रही थी, हो जाती, पर कृष्ण को इतना कष्ट तो नहीं उठाना पड़ता ना। अर्जुन वो तो बहुत बड़ा स्वार्थी और निष्ठुर है। कैसे? उसने श्री कृष्ण से अपना रथ हंकवाया। हार जाता, मारा जाता तो क्या बिगड़ जाता, लेकिन भगवान को इतना कष्ट दिया। अर्जुन का गर्व भंग हो गया, उसका सिर नीचा हो गया और उसने अपना सिर नीचा किए ही भगवान के पास वो लौट आया। उसकी समझ में आ गया कि भगवान ने तो अपनी यहां पर भी भक्त वत्सलता ही निभाई है। भगवान ने तो अपने भक्त वत्सलता का जो कर्तव्य है उसको तो उन्होंने बखूबी निभाया है, लेकिन मैंने प्रेमी के कर्तव्य का पालन नहीं किया। तो भक्त भगवान को किसी भी तरह से कष्ट नहीं देते। भक्तिमती की उनकी भी प्रार्थना थी कि यदि मैं नरक से बचने को आपका भजन करती हूं तो मुझे स्वर्ग का दर्शन कभी मत कराना, और मुझे नरक की अग्नि में झोंक देना आप। देखिए, कामना मिटे बिना ना न तो प्रेम पूर्ण होता है, न ज्ञान प्राप्त होता है, न भक्ति ही आती है। कठोपनिषद में आया है ना, यदा सर्वे प्रमुच्यन्ते कामा येस्य हृदय श्रिताः तदा मर्त्यो मृतो भवति अत्र ब्रह्म समश्नुते। जब साधक के हृदय में स्थित समस्त कामनाएं स्वतः छूट जाती हैं, तब वह मरण धर्मा मानव जो है वो अमरता को प्राप्त कर लेता है, और यही इसी जीवन में फिर ब्रह्मानंद का अनुभव करता है। इसलिए जन्म से मृत्यु तक अपने शरीर निर्वाह का काम स्वयं करना चाहिए। भगवान पर अपने भोजन आच्छादन इसका भार नहीं डालना चाहिए। शरीर निर्वाह के लिए अमुक रीति नहीं निर्धारित की जा सकती है भैया कि इस तरह से करें या इस तरह से करें। जैसे 4 व्यक्तियों ने एक साथ समान मात्रा में कोई नशीली चीज का सेवन कर लिया, भांग ही खा ली, उनमें से चारों की स्थिति, चारों की दशा एक समान नहीं होने वाली है। एक गाने लग गया, एक को नींद आ गई, एक गालियां देने लगा, और चौथे को नशा ही नहीं चढ़ा। तो भांग तो सबने एक साथ एक समान मात्रा में पी खाई, लेकिन उनके स्वास्थ्य, प्रकृति आदि के कारण उन पर उनका भिन्न भिन्न प्रभाव पड़ा। इसी प्रकार ज्ञान हो अथवा भक्ति, उसका जो व्यसन है, उसकी जो नशा है, वो चढ़ने पर सबका आचरण समान नहीं रहता है। इसलिए जिसका जैसा अभ्यास हो, बचपन से जिस तरह से, बाल्यकाल से जिस तरह से माता पिता ने हमको संस्कार दिया हो, वैसा आचरण करना चाहिए। हमको गद्दे पर बैठने का अभ्यास है तो गद्दे पर बैठें, कुर्सी पर बैठने का अभ्यास है तो भला चेष्टा ना करें कि हम जमीन पर बैठ करके भगवान का ध्यान पूजन करेंगे। जैसा संस्कार मिला हुआ हो उस तरह से करना चाहिए। इन्हीं सब विषयों को अच्छे ढंग से रघुराम महोदय ने रखा। बातें बहुत होती है, समय की एक मर्यादा भी रहती है, इसलिए आपके प्रति
क्षम्यता महोदय,
कृतज्ञता ज्ञापित करते हुए जी जी
क्षम्यता महोदय, 1 घंटे में पूरे करने का इच्छा थी,
नहीं, आपने पूरा किया। आपने सही उतना तो पहले से बता दिए थे कि 10 मिनट 5 मिनट ऊपर नीचे होगा करके, आपके लिए नहीं है। अभी जो हम बोल रहे थे उसमें जो
जी जी
बातें आ गई
जी
तो थोड़ी सी एक कथानक के रूप में बताना हो गया। तो
अस्तु अस्तु।
हाँ हाँ,
मेरा भी कुछ एक्सटेंड
नहीं नहीं,
पॉइंट्स।
उतना 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 चलता है, पहले से बता दिए भाई। आप एकदम टाइम देख करके तो अपना नहीं बता सकते ना, वो तो थोड़ा बहुत होता है, कम भी हो सकता है, थोड़ा ज्यादा भी हो सकता है। अस्तु, कल फिर हम लोग ज्योति भगिनी के द्वारा भजन सहित भक्ति विषयक चर्चा करेंगे।
अस्तु महोदय, मैं ट्राई करूंगी, क्या होगा भगवान
जी
के ऊपर।
हाँ हाँ, नहीं ठीक ठीक है, सभी यहाँ प्रयत्न ही कर रहे हैं, इतनी अच्छी प्रस्तुति हो रही है कि फिर कहना ही क्या है आगे। अभी और भी कुछ लोग बाकी हैं जिनका नाम नहीं आया है। आप लोग भी इस तरह से ज्यादा अधिक समय का ना हो तो 10-5 मिनट का भी आप लोग अपनी एक कथा, एक छोटी सी कथा भी प्रस्तुत कर सकते हैं भक्ति विषयक। तो जैसे कि संगीता भगिनी का बहुत दिनों के बाद उनका
नमस्कार
आगमन
महोदया।
हुआ।
मैं ही
हाँ
एक्चुअली बोलने
तो
वाली थी कि मुझे पता चला ये सीरीज, भक्ति सीरीज चल रहा है, तो अनुराधा भगिनी ने बताया था मुझे, तो मुझे
हाँ
लगा
हाँ
मैं भी ज्वाइन हो जाऊंगी थोड़ा, और एक दिन मैं भी अपना टॉपिक बता दूंगी।
हाँ, जी जी, तो ग्रुप
मैं
में थोड़ा सा सूचित कर देंगे कितने समय का
जरूर
रहेगा लगभग। और
जरूर
हाँ, कौन से दिन देख करके जिसमें रिक्त स्थान दिख रहा है उसकी पूर्ति करनी है।
जरूर महोदया। मैं तो
जी
एक्चुअली मेरा बैड लक, मैं बहुत मिस हो गई सारे 18 चैप्टर्स, तो मुझे लगा ठीक है मैं कम से कम ये सुनना शुरू कर दूंगी फिर से और अगले क्लास भी ज्वाइन हो जाऊंगी।
अच्छा, अभी तक शीला भगिनी का भी नहीं आया है कि उनका कब सुनना है?
मैं करूंगी महोदया, थोड़ा सा और
अच्छा
एक
सुन लो,
कौन
पहले
सी
सुन लो
कथा?
ऐसे करके।
हाँ,
पहले सुनने के बाद आप करेंगे, ऐसा है?
नहीं नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है। कौन सी कथा पढ़ना है मैं सोच रही थी, मैं जरूर करूंगी।
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा, हाँ हाँ हाँ,
ये तो आधा घंटे का 1 घंटे का अवसर मिस नहीं करूंगी मैं।
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल।
मैं भी एक
अनुराधा
दिन
भगिनी क्या
करूंगी
है?
महोदया, मैं सूचित कर देती हूँ।
जी
Actually,
जी,
I was preparing for Kannappa story and शिवानंद लहरी से, so आज वो
हाँ
टॉपिक
हाँ
हो गया, so मैं और देखती हूँ, so मैं पहले सूचित कर देती हूँ आपको।
जी जी। और किन क्या बताते हैं, राधा भगिनी है।
महोदय मैं भी एक दिन,
हाँ,
मनोरमा
सुप्रिया
महोदय,
भगिनी का। जी जी जी,
एक दिन
Mahoday, I will only listen. It's really enlightening to listen to everyone.
हाँ सुप्रिया भगिनी।
मैं भी एक दिन बोल दूंगी महोदय, 5-10 मिनट।
हाँ हाँ, ठीक है ठीक है। देखिए, इसमें ऐसा ये नहीं है कि आपको बोलना ही है, कक्षा में आ गए तो बोलना ही है, ऐसा भी नहीं है। बोलना चाहिए अपने विचारों को, जो हमारे पास जो जानकारियां हैं उसको हम बांटें। और इतने सब लोग यहाँ पर एकत्रित रहते हैं और बिल्कुल पूरा 1-1.5 घंटे तक हिलते नहीं है, मतलब ये सब लोग जैसे नशे वालों की एक टोली होती है तो वहां से हटते नहीं है, वैसे ही वयम सर्वे व्यसनीनः, हम सब लोग व्यसनी हो गए किसके? सत्संग के। तो ये सत्संग करने का व्यसन बना रहे हमारा। हाँ, और हम लोग भी कुछ प्रस्तुति करते रहे तो अपनी बात भी रखने का हमको अवसर मिल जाएगा। इसलिए ये इस कक्षा का है। आगे फिर इसके बाद वाल्मीकि रामायण में भी आप लोगों को ही इस तरह के जो क्रम है, कथा क्रम, वो सब दिया जाएगा और उसको लेकर के फिर आप लोग ही उसको बोलेंगे, जो संस्कृत पार्ट रहेगा उसको। अस्तु, आज यहीं पर विराम लेंगे शांति मंत्र के साथ। और भी किसी को कुछ अपनी बात 1-2 मिनट में रखनी हो, अभी थोड़ी सी बात इसके संबंध में, तो आप लोग रख सकते हैं।
महोदय मुझे रघुराम महोदय का बताना था। जिस तरह से उन्होंने सारे स्तोत्रों में से श्लोक निकाल के उनको सब अलाइन करके बताया है, उससे दिखता है उनका कितना ग्रिप है नॉलेज उन सब में, और वो डेप्थ दिख रहा था जब वो बात कर रहे थे एक एक श्लोक निकाल के शिवानंद लहरी से, तो एकदम बहुत
जी
अच्छा
जी
था। रघुराम जी इज
बिल्कुल।
वेरी नाइस एक्चुअली, చాలా బాగుంది।
अनेक जगह से उन्होंने रामायण से भी लिया, श्रीमद्
हाँ
भगवद गीता से भी लिया, शिवानंद लहरी से भी लिया, बहुत 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 अच्छा।
मुझे बहुत अच्छा बताया आपने। Actually, when you are explaining, I was waiting for Margavartita Padaka Paspate. Actually, it's not coming. Why he's
Same here, I was actually ready with the shloka when you said that.
और जो उन्होंने आध्यात्मिकता बताई वो भी बहुत अद्भुत था, थोड़ा सा ध्यान देने लायक है। जो उन्होंने आध्यात्मिकता बताई ना, सर्प और गज का शरीर में जो कुंडलिनी ये होता है उसका, तो वो अच्छा था और बहुत बहुत अच्छा।
असल में रघुराम महोदय सबको डरा दिया महोदय।
और एक्चुअली जो श्लोक
महोदय डरा दिया नहीं, भक्ति में डुबा दिया।
हम सब तो सामान्य की लोग हैं, और क्या कर सकते हैं। अभी तो जो भी है वो करेंगे। 2 दिन में तो रघुराम महोदय जैसे तो नहीं बोल सकते हैं ना, तो फिर हम जो भी
महोदय, हम लोग जब छोटे थे महोदय, क्षम्यतां, जब हम लोग बहुत छोटे थे, then I started learning Sanskrit, and Satya and then my sister, they both skipped the class at that time. So me and my mother were classmates in Sanskrit. Then my mother, मेरे
मैं सिर्फ हर रविवार को संस्कृत की कक्षा में हर रविवार को चॉकलेट देते थे, वो सब उसके लिए जाता था।
My mother, she gave a speech on Dhurjati's Kavita Vaibhavam, that's in Telugu. So, and then my dad, he is well learned compared to all of us. So he trained her. तो तब से मुझे धुर्जटी के बारे में बहुत सारे पद्य है। Then Telugu was its peak. So most of Telugu is Sanskrit Andhra. So majority of even the living people also, even the ordinary people, they could converse in such a beautiful Telugu. अब तो तेलुगु की परिस्थिति इतनी हो गई है कि जब मैं आंध्रा विजिट करता हूँ तो शर्म होती है कि हम लोगों को इतना घटिया तेलुगु सुनने को मिलती है। तो that is a matter of concern. That's a different point. परंतु तब से मेरा जिज्ञासा धुर्जटी के ऊपर तब से हुई है, तो इसलिए I could do this. There is nothing like, I am nobody. Please, just wanted to make sure that I know very, 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 very minuscule things. So
actually, Raghuram Garu, when you were talking, my daughter was getting ready to go to school, and when you were talking about Dhurjati and that part, no, she was saying,
great.
we